Welcome to What's Poppin'. I'm your host, Kenjak, and I am very, very, very happy to be joined by someone I'm a huge fan of, Aarón Sánchez. Aarón, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, my brother.
Of course,
Senor
you were
Jack.
Senior Jack. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna have to call him. I haven't been called Mr. yet in my life, and I think that's gonna have to be it. I'll take
You
that
have
moment.
you have like presidential name, bro. Like this is big time.
I do. My parents were very much like, no expectations when they gave me that name, right? Kind of bullshit, but whatever. Uh,
Exactly.
so you're here to promote Fox MasterChef Legends. 15 of the best home cooks in America compete in challenges, which include a head-to-head battle with Gordon Ramsay. Only one gets the MasterChef title. You get 250 grand, a complete Viking kitchen set, and more, or complete Viking kitchen and more. Wednesdays on 8/7 Central on Fox. That's the synopsis that we get given. But what's your pitch for? Are you there? You're now 4 episodes deep season of MasterChef Legends.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, here's the deal. We've invited culinary pillars of our industry. Um, they've come to essentially be the fourth judge with Joe, Gordon, and myself. And the idea is that we're raising the intensity in the kitchen. We're catering challenges to their specific strong suits and their culinary background. So it's really it makes for all a formula for an unprecedented season.
Yeah, I can't, the first few episodes and the last one with the monkfish, I really, really enjoyed too. That one was that's a fish where I think from everyone I've ever told that cooks fish, because I despise cooking fish because I always fuck it up. But like that's one I've always heard is a hard one to master too. So that was that a mean challenge to give them?
Yes, it was, and then I mean, and you have Morimoto, who's like the original Iron
Yeah.
Chef, and and I competed against Morimoto many moons ago, and I tied him. So it was kind of we were joking around behind the scenes saying we have some unfinished business, you and I, Morimoto. Let's do one ingredient, half an hour, but yeah, but monkfish it's scary, it is intimidating looking, and also it's something that can overcook extremely quickly. They call it the poor man's lobster because it kind of has that sort of texture of meatiness to it, but it is very challenging to cook because a lot of people don't know when it's done. Like other fish, you can kind of gauge and find its firmness and understand it, but monkfish is very deceiving. So you have to have some experience with it.
So it's you, Joe Bastianich, you got Gordon Ramsay. How intimidated do you think these contestants are at any given second, having one of you guys hovering over them, being like, oh, this is what you're doing. Interesting.
Yeah, look, I mean, the idea is that, it gets, they can be very intimidated, but we're there essentially to help them. That's our primary goal, is to get them better. What that delivery is differentiates between myself, Jordan, and Gordon. But the end all is to extract the best out of them and see their evolution and their progression through the competition. That's the most important.
So with reality TV, a lot of like creative editing has to be done just to make sure that like, everything's very tight and, consolidated. Is there ever any like mess ups that the judges have that need to be like, you just goofs up that need to be edited out in post?
Not really. I mean, we're pretty good at it. I think, we do a really good job. We have standards and practices, which assures that all the competitions and the challenges are on the up and up, and everybody is seeing and doing it in real time. So we go behind the scenes and taste everything when it's hot. We taste everything, all the different elements separately to really get a good understanding. So when we start to judge it, we have all the background information we need. So
what do you think it is about food-based like reality TV that has just resonated with so many people, not even just in like a specific demographic, but across like so many different demographics? I feel like anyone from any place, any age, whatever, they can all appreciate and love food-based reality TV. And what do you think it is about that has just, again, resonated so much?
Well, I mean, I think a big part of it is, us as chefs, we're not actors. You know what I mean? We have another job, we have another
Mhm.
gig. So I think there's a little bit of relatability as far as us as judges and people that sort of, shepherd the process. But I think the idea is that we're living in the era of the foodie.
Mhm.
It's a very exciting time to be cooking at home. I think the amount of information that's out there, whether it's our show or social media, like the home cook knows the difference between flake sea salt and regular salt, a finishing olive oil versus a blended olive oil. People have sharper knives, Japanese knives at home. So there's just like this very interesting time where people are fulfilling their culinary sort of needs, and it's fun to see that.
So I was looking at some of the future episodes that are planned up, and there's one coming up titled Meat Roulette. And I just need to have
Yeah.
clarification on that. What the fuck is a meat roulette?
Yeah, well, I don't want to give too much away, but the idea of exactly imagine a bunch of different cuts and a bunch of different styles of meat, and maybe, you know, you don't know what you're going to get, kind of thing. And
Uh,
yeah, you know what I mean? So
gotcha. So
we always like to throw a little element of surprise there.
so one guy's gonna get stuck with the filet mignon, and the other guy's gonna get stuck with like a chuck steak or something. It's gonna suck for one guy probably.
You're gonna get oxtail and shit or something. You know?
Oh my god, that I can't imagine.
Imagine.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite things to eat, something I couldn't even begin to start thinking about how to cook. There's another show I want to talk to you about, one that introduced you to me, which is Chopped, and
Mhm.
that show, I've seen some disgusting looking meals come out of that show, some fantastic looking meals come out of that show. But what out of that one, of your experience with Chopped, was the worst meal you were ever served there?
Well, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've been on it, but I was on episode number one. You know what I mean? And I think they've done over 600 or whatever. But um, I remember, like, right when we started, I think there was like a turkey breast, and some numbnut tried to pass it off as medium rare turkey breast, and he was like, "Yeah, this is like really preserving like the turkey and making sure it doesn't dry out." I go, asshole, this is raw. You know what I mean? Like, have you heard salmonella? Have you ever heard of any of those kind of things? You want me to give you my toilet paper bill afterwards? Like, what do you want? You know what I mean?
That must be the fun part too, is just getting the bullshitting experience, right? Where someone tries
Yeah.
to, like, kind of like put a little bit of flair on whatever it is that they're serving.
But you're not gonna get one over on me, bro. Like, so you can do all that, you can try, but I've been doing this way too long. You know what I mean? There's no way.
So something that always makes me sad when I watch Chopped was I would always see Ted Allen standing in the corner, just like, he looks like he wants a bite. Are you guys allowed to give him like a couple scraps of something, like just a little bite to eat?
Yeah, once in a while when he behaves. Yeah,
Oh,
but I'm excited about what we're doing on MasterChef. MasterChef season 11 is going to be unprecedented, bro. And like, I think the idea of us being able to mentor, what makes us the elite culinary competition show, is that there's a mentoring process to what we do. Some of these other cooking competitions that you mentioned, it's like you're in the door for 20 minutes. Your dish sucks by. At
mhm.
least on MasterChef, they're with us for an extended period of time, and they walk away with new techniques and a newfound love for ingredients. And even if they don't win or come in fourth or come in fifth or eighth, whatever, they still walking away with a valuable experience. And that's
Yeah,
what MasterChef's the bomb.
that's interesting that you note that too. Is that, like, you think a plan for maybe producers too of MasterChef was like, do we want people at home to be like watching this and like learning cooking techniques and knowing, like you were saying before, like the sea salt flake things? Because I never watched it with that intent, like, oh, I'm going to learn, but I feel like inadvertently I do learn a lot watching basically any cooking competition show, but especially MasterChef.
Absolutely. That's the goal. And also the introduction to new ingredients, right? Some people, you don't, maybe your supermarket might not carry some of these sort of what could be perceived as exotic ingredients. And so that for us is a big part of it as well. And then just kind of exposing this huge culinary diversity world that's out there to people that maybe might have sort of very shortened experiences with it. So we want to just open it up and show that the world's big. You know what I mean?
I remember, I think I saw on, they used like a Swiss chart or something on the MasterChef
Mhm.
once, and I was just like, oh, they definitely won't have this at my supermarket. And it was at the supermarket right next to everything I buy like every day. There's like ingredients like that where like you wouldn't think to use them, but they just exist in your everyday life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'd love to talk to you about just cooking in general. I know you've laid down a lot of roots in New Orleans before, previously, just throughout your life. In
Mhm.
Louisiana, I think in general, just has a crazy cultural blend of foods. Creole and Cajun, they combine like West Africans, French,
Of
Spanish, Native
course.
American, all these different blends. How difficult was it for you trying to master like a sort of flavor profile that just combines so many very distinct flavors?
Yeah, look, my restaurant, Johnny Sanchez, is a Mexican restaurant. So, people ask me, is it like a Cajun Mexican fusion? It's none of that. It's a straight up Mexican restaurant. We do use, obviously, local indigenous Louisiana ingredients, but as far as trying to master Louisiana Cajun food, you have to remember there's many different subsections of the food. I mean, you know, uh, the original Acadians or Cajuns were actually French Canadian beaver trappers that came down the St. Lawrence, down the Mississippi, and made their way to Louisiana. And that's just one section of the melting pot or the gumbo. And then you have all the stuff going on from, like, as you mentioned, French, Spanish, the Native American community, African American. But I think if you want to define the cuisine here, it's extremely layered and it's well seasoned. I think everything, when people come to Louisiana to eat, they expect to have sort of a French, Spanish twist to it, but with great flavor and seasoning.
What do you think for you was the hardest sort of cuisine to cook or to master? What's one that like maybe just gave you the most trouble getting around to?
Well, I mean, I just tell you what I think takes a lot of time to get good at is just obviously pastry, and having the patience and the precision to measure and to understand how things proof and how they rise and how you have to let them rest and things like that. So pastry has always been something that you can never learn enough about. You have to keep at it. And I think with some of like the nuances of Italian cuisine and the pasta making and understanding how to use the right amount of egg yolks to make the proper pasta dough and and understanding what the consistency is, how it doesn't over dry, and because that's not necessarily my cuisine, but I love eating it. So I've taken some time to learn that.
That's something I hear in the back of my mind every time I make pasta is Scott Continent going, "Oh, you didn't salt your pasta water, sir.
Yeah.
You didn't salt it." And now maybe that's another thing. It's another lesson I learn now when I go to cook in real life.
Well, you know what? Gordon has a very delicious pasta recipe as far as his yolks
Okay.
and and like the color and the elasticity. I'm pretty sure he doesn't use any actual whole eggs. I think he just uses yolks. So just look it up. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, there's definitely cool things that I've learned from Gordon as far as pasta making.
I'm gonna check that out and put that into our link. Is there any sort of cuisine that you've tried globally, anything like that, where you've tried it and you just have tried it over and over again, and you're just like, this just isn't for me? Like it's like a cuisine where like you'll respect it, whatever it is, but you just, as far as wanting to eat it, it's just not for you.
No, you know what? I love all kinds of food. I'm not somebody that kind of gets dismayed by something, cuisine. As long as it's prepared with good technique and an understanding of the ingredients. I mean, look, have I eaten dishes that I've been like, what the hell is that? Will I go back? Absolutely. And I won't go back, what I'm saying. I had stinky tofu in Korea that was just so appalling and very difficult to get through. I've had a whole plethora of bug dishes, that are pre-Hispanic things that just were not tasty. There's a restaurant, and there's a pre-Hispanic restaurant in Mexico City that does dishes with fly eggs, and I had these little cakes with fly eggs that were rough to get through. So there's some things that were not necessarily tasty.
Yeah, I think I had Taiwanese stinky tofu once, and that was one of the hardest dishes I think I've ever had to try to eat before. That was tough.
Yeah.
But
I've had like the 1,000-year egg and all that
yeah,
stuff, which is another hard one. But
that's in your egg. I find is okay as long as you get like a good topping on it. But like if you try to eat it by itself, it is very that texture too. Because I think in a lot of Asian cuisine they like that more like gelatiny and that soft that sort of mouthfeel to it. And like that to me is not something that's totally appealing. But I'll try anything once, so I'll go across the board on that.
You're a trisexual.
Yes, exactly, more or less.
To
try. I love that. I'm gonna have to use that term from now on. Trisexual. So my uncle is a restaurateur, and he has this restaurant out in Brooklyn called Olmsted. And remember, they got awarded this thing, the Big Gourmand from Michelin, right? And as far as from a restaurateur's point of view, what's the process like with that as far as trying to get one? Because I get the impression that from some chefs it's like an end goal, and for other chefs it's more like, as long as I'm successful and I know I'm serving good food, I could give a shit about Michelin. But for other chefs it's more of a priority.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Michelin has so much clout and significance everywhere in the world except America, really. But that has changed now, obviously, in the last, I think, 10 years since Michelin came to the States. It's something that people strive for. And I totally agree. I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to have that as being sort of a benchmark an indicator of the quality of your restaurant. There's high standards involved, and a lot of chefs do aspire to get one. I think it's important to remember that, you know, on MasterChef, Gordon Ramsay has 3 Michelin stars for 20 years in a row. And that is probably one of the hardest feats in the culinary universe to do. He's maintained that standard. You know how hard that is? Because you get reviewed and inspected. It's like, actually they call it inspection. You get inspected every year to maintain your stars. And you can get bumped down or you have them taken away, whatever. So just to give you an example, you know, how it's hard.
Yeah, I've seen like just how that can like make or break a restaurant where like you gain one, you're now get a whole bunch of like positive PR, people are coming to you. But like you're saying, you have to maintain it. So if you lose it, that's now like, holy shit, I don't want to go here anymore. They just lost a Michelin star. So like
Yeah,
you're saying for Gordon, I'm sure that's like that's like every single year, it's like we better make sure all of our stuff is
yeah.
like focused in, because if we lose it, that's really bad.
Yep.
So with MasterChef, I think when you talk about Gordon Ramsay, you have a sort of familiar or a reverence, I guess, that I think a lot of people have.
Yep.
Is there for you personally a chef, alive or dead, that was really is like the goalposts for you? Like this is the guy where like he's like in my mind the guy I want to aspire to be.
Well, I mean, I think when you have a mentor, you can't have just one mentor. You have to have many different mentors for different reasons. I mean, Paul Prudhomme was one of my mentors, and he just had the most amazing palate. He was able to describe food in a way that and understand how seasoning can affect food, and he really taught me how to expand my palate. And so he was somebody that really admired and missed dearly. I thought he was amazing. Loved Julia Child. I loved her playfulness in the kitchen. Um, who else? I mean, there's so many. Jonathan Waxman is somebody that I love. I love his you know, European California background. The farm to table thing where he's just can make 5 ingredients sing. You know, so yeah, those are just a couple of names.
Is there an episode of MasterChef coming up maybe that you're really looking forward to because you know that there's like something, a moment or a dish or something that people are going to be
Yeah.
like, holy smokes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think tomorrow, you know, on Wednesday, this new episode with Sherry Yard, I think is very special because, you know, Sherry was a culinary director, pastry director for Wolfgang Puck for many years. Amazing woman, just this beautiful joie de vivre and love of life. And I've known her, and she's one of my dear friends. So I think that this episode coming up Wednesday will be very special. So
Can't wait. And that's a dessert themed episode, right?
yes, absolutely. And then I'm also going to be on Crime Scene Kitchen, which is, you know, another show that we have on Fox, which is a great hit, hosted by Joel McHale. And that's going to come right after where I'm doing a guest appearance. So it's going to be all about pastry tomorrow, Wednesday, this Wednesday. So
Can't wait. Just
cool.
as someone who has been in the reality TV world, this aspect is something that I think a lot of people, they'll always tweet about. They're always just like bitch about in general. They'll just say like, oh, why does every competition show, they always have a sob story? Like, oh, my French bulldog has diabetes. That's why I'm competing here today, or something like that. But like for me, it's always been like, well, this is what this person's about. You know, it adds to the drama of whatever is happening. But some people are like, they wonder, like, is that ever taken into consideration when doing your final judgment on anything?
Never, never. I'm sorry. It's all about the food. It's the only fair way of doing it. You know, I don't give breaks to anybody because they have a sob story. I take into account how it affects the food and maybe their emotional state, you know, as far as them being able to continue to the competition. But it's all about the food, and it's the only fair, just way of doing the competition. Um, you know, I close my eyes when I have that dish. And for that moment when I taste, I don't think about that person's background. I just think about what's on the plate. And that's the only fair way of doing it.
I love that because I think
Mm.
just as being a judge in general, the just retaining objectivity throughout any experience judging in general, I think is obviously super important. But I'm sure in a competition where like you're this visible, it has to be very important.
And you have to be fair and you have to be just, but you also, I think each contestant deserves to know why, you know? So you have
Yeah,
to say, you know what I mean? The reason that I'm saying this is because the skin on the skin on the fish is completely soggy. You know, you steamed it, you didn't roast it. You know, the vegetables have no seasoning. You can look at this carrot It's bald. It has no
Mhm.
salt or pepper on it. Like things like that, you know? So you have to give them, they deserve that. They deserve to know why, is my whole thing.
Yeah, that's something I liked about it too, because just kind of like we were talking before, as far as learning experiences go, when you tell them what they did wrong and how they could fix it for the next time, that's something as a home chef, like it's like I will take that into effect too. I'm like, maybe the next time I make lap chong or something, I'm going to make
Yeah,
this differently because I saw this guy goofed it up and I saw them tell them him or her like how to fix it. So I think
yeah,
that's important too. Aarón, thank you so much for joining me.
my
Go to
man.
the Aarón Sánchez scholarshipfund.com. They empower and help aspiring chefs in the Latin community follow their dreams and attend culinary school. I want to give them a shout out as well because that's fantastic work. And Fox MasterChef Legends, Wednesday at 8/7 Central on Fox.
Jack, you're a scholar and a gentleman, my brother, and I appreciate all your support and love, not just for me, but for MasterChef and the culinary world as a whole. I can tell you're a serious cook. I like that. Continue to venture out and try new dishes, and I'll follow you, and I'll make sure I'll keep up with what you're doing. Okay, my brother.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.